This essay is looking into one scene of Mulholland Drive, the diner scene, and what makes that scene tick, how its visual language takes us through the scene, and how this scene shapes the rest of Lynch's approach to the narrative and characters. To quote Lynch himself, "I like to make dreams because I like to go into another world. I like to get lost in another world. And film to me is a magical medium that makes you dream, allows you to dream in the dark." Having this idea, it allows us to involve ourselves in its mystery and break down what makes Mulholland Drive so alluring. Furthermore, we get to see how Lynch uses avant-garde filmmaking to play with people's perception of Los Angeles. What is avant-garde cinema, and how does Lynch use it to shape his world and its players? Avant-garde is often cited as experimentation over convention, an unusual narrative and technical break from its norms and tradition, that uses its medium to explore deeper psychological themes that hinge more on emotional and philosophical ideas rather than a linear narrative device. Lynch uses this approach to develop his characters and world to create this terrifying dream of LA. Roger Ebert once saying, "David Lynch's Mulholland Drive is a film about movies, about the way movies create illusions and give them meaning." Having this idea, it lends to the world of David Lynch has made, being a fantasy of the city, lending more to a surrealism through non-linear storytelling and often distorted camera angles and superimposed editing. These techniques then being put to the forefront of the diner scene, telling us its rules and giving us an idea of the uncanny line this film crosses. The diner scene, when viewed as singular, doesn't seem to connect to the rest of the film, showing us characters that don't return nor take stake in the story. But when we take the scene and dissect it, it shows us a lot more than once thought. What makes this scene so interesting is an atmosphere Lynch can derive from, and how he uses the mise-en-scène to fully create a scene. The diner itself is seen in stark daylight, one that is overexposed and almost blinding, creating a place that is taken away from reality. The colours are vibrant, clashing with the light outside. Being it over the shoulder, the camera is restricted through the otherworldly atmosphere. When the dream is being described, the camera starts rising and pushing in towards the storyteller, creating an elusive feeling. Something in this story can't be grasped nor reached. From each attribute described, along with the performances, it gives the story an earnest, desperate quality that wants to be solved. At the end of the scene, when the jump scare hits, the diegetic sounds wash out as a negative, pulsating beat that breaks over you. This sound that we hear breaks the continuum of our world and theirs as we now bore witness to a dream just then described. This sequence sets the groundwork for the rest of the film. When looking at the noir mystery of Mulholland Drive, asking what it tells us, we can cite Michael Snow saying, "I think avant-garde cinema is not about having an intellectual game with the audience. It's about an experience that can transcend intellectual analysis." Citing this, we can derive that Lynch isn't trying to sell a story, but create these branching ideas that give us a multitude of answers, giving the audience through a slew of avant-garde devices. But how do we get there? We must look at the entire narrative as Lynch uses our understanding of time and perspective against us. During the first two acts of Mulholland Drive, we follow Betsy, an up-and-coming film star, as she reaches stardom, all while trying to solve the past of her roommate Rita, looking into the dark and dreamy world of Hollywood. This is until the final act, when it's revealed that Betsy is Rita's dead roommate Diane. This uses the avant-garde storytelling approach to then recontextualize the film, having changed the entire story for us, as we now don't know where or when this is taking place. The story is not in Betsy's hand anymore, as she has never existed. But Lynch doesn't tell us this. Instead, he shows us the people and relationships we've seen before recontextualized, giving us pieces of a narrative that we ourselves must put back in new arrangement. Lynch uses our understanding of the film form and our expectations of linear storytelling structure to create its mystery. Instead of giving us the regular third act twist, the twist is given to us, and then a new mystery is formed around the film, much like the diner scene. We had seen the build-up, we knew something was coming, and then the jump scare. It's a natural evolution of its narrative, but when it hits, it crashes over us, leaving us wondering the reality of its world, while never giving us the answer. It gives us all the pieces we need. To reflect on David Lynch's Mulholland Drive, we can now fully understand how the diner scene wasn't only an isolated moment of horror, but a key point in grasping Lynch's approach to the film's form and structure. How every main skill and technique of his went to giving us a complete scene. That when viewed upon the rest of the film's labyrinth of this avant-garde fantasy of LA, we find that it's through that context in which we understand its laws and ideas. Creating a nightmare isn't easy, but as Hollis Frampton once said, a true experimental film does not tell a story. It allows the audience to create its own. And by breaking down the norms and convention of film, David Lynch did just that.
Did you want to tell me something, Adam? This is the girl.
Excellent choice.